Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Stick with us a couple of seconds and we're going to talk all about drones. Hey everybody. You're
Hello.
back.
Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's
Turn
Kiss,
that
the
off.
vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
Okay. Post. All right, I've just shared that on Facebook.
Okay, great.
And we are back. Today we're going to be talking about drones. Toby will be unboxing his new drone and he'll be explaining all about where you can and cannot be using your drone.
So we wanted to spend a few minutes talking about our new format. We've modified our format to basically provide more information, and part of that information will enable us to incorporate the chat into the final product that you'll see on our YouTube channel. Now, YouTube has recently made an announcement that they're going to incorporate the chat as part of the presentation of the live stream after the live stream is conducted, but I guess they're rolling it out just a little bit at a time. So we decided to go ahead with this format for the moment. We may even keep it just because we like it, and again, because we think it provides a lot of information to our viewers. So we're going to keep it this way for a while. You won't see us in front of the big screen, but you will see a video with, like I said, a lot more information. So I hope you like it, and if you have any suggestions about how we can improve it, please feel free to make comments and to let us know what you think about this approach. So the schedule for today. Oh, but first,
Housekeeping. Uh-oh. Somebody's at the door. Anyway, our moderators today, Jimmy Fast.
Go ahead.
Jimmy Fast, Joel Lewicki, and we have not yet seen Man in the Barn, but I'm sure he'll be along if he can. And let's see. Well, as always, we'll have a presentation followed by an open Q&A, so you can ask any questions you like about drones or anything to do with the treasure hunt as soon as the presentation is finished.
And the only thing I'm going to do is I've got my new drone here in the box. We'll do the box, not box opening. What are they called? Unboxing at the end of the Q&A, so that way if anybody doesn't want to stay around to see unboxing, they can leave before that. So, but I'm very excited about it. I've been very patient about not opening it up. So I hope you guys will enjoy me opening it up and letting you share in the experience. It's very different for me because this is although it's the fourth DJI drone that I purchased, it's the first non-Phantom drone that I purchased. So let's go into Super Chat. YouTube also announced that Super Chat was made available to the iOS products. So I don't know if you can see that on your iPhones or your iPads now, but supposedly it could be just another one. This announcement came on February 23rd, and YouTube.
So there's mine.
Oh, okay.
At the bottom of the chat.
So let's show everybody your window.
There's a little dollar sign.
So you can
next
see
to my name.
You can see on Shelley's window right here. There's a Super Chat button at the bottom of the iOS window. So that's cool. So now iOS users can take advantage of Super Chat. So the first step in Super Chat is to click that dollar sign, and you'll get a second window. And the second window will have a blue bar, and basically it's checking to make sure that you didn't click that dollar sign accidentally. So it'll ask you to agree to send a Super Chat, and that will open a third small window. And all of this is happening in your chat window. And step one is to slide that bar over from the left to the right as far as you want in terms of your contribution. Then step two is, in our case, send us a message, and we ask our viewers that since you're going through all the trouble of paying us for a Super Chat, make sure you ask a question that we can answer. It'll go to the top of the queue, and we'll get to it as soon as I see it go to the top of the queue, because I have it right here in front of me as well. And so, again, iOS users, you now have access to Super Chat. Thank you, YouTube, for change.
Yay.
You got anything else before I get started? Because I'm going to launch here.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? Launch. Little drone humor.
Oh boy.
So today we're going to talk about the rules and regulations of what we call drones. I'll explain to you why the FAA thinks of them differently in just a minute. But we're going to cover those rules and regulations in the context of you, boots on the ground, in the various areas that you can be at. I'm not going to give you all the drone regulations. I'm not going to talk about the difference between hobbyists and commercial Part 107 pilots. But I do want to explain to you what we experience when we go out in the field and we have a drone. And I'll cite all the rules and regulations that you need to know in order to be able to fly your own drone in the various properties that you'll put boots on the ground, be on the, how do I want to say this? The various properties that
You
will,
might look at when you're treasure
searching for the
hunting,
treasure.
yeah.
That's right. So we're going to talk about that first. We're going to talk about the rules and regs. Then we're going to talk about what areas you can fly in, some guidelines that the FAA provides new flyers, whether you're a hobbyist or a commercial flyer. We're going to talk about registering your drone, which is terribly important for a number of reasons. And then we're going to talk about insurance, getting insurance for your flight to make sure that if something bad happens, you'll be able to take care of it. Okay? Make sure if you have a question for us, we'll get to Q&A after the presentation. If you have a question for us, use the @ a Gypsy's Kiss, and that way we'll know that the question is for us and not someone else in the room. I think we'll have, are we going to do open Q&A today?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do open Q&A. If you have drone questions, I'll answer them. I've been flying since 2012 now. And I'm Part 107, so I've done it all in terms of what you need to do according to the regulations, okay? All right, let's take a leap. So the first thing is you'll hear these commercially, you'll hear these products referred to as either drones or quadricopters. The federal government is, as defined by the FAA, refers to them as UAS. And UAS stands for Unmanned Aircraft Systems. So whenever you hear that term, UAS, now, you'll hear a lot of other acronyms. The military uses a different acronym for them, UAVs, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're dealing with the FAA and their regulations as they apply to the various governmental entities, whether they're federal, state, or local, you'll hear them referred to as the common name UAS, or Unmanned Aircraft Systems. So U.S. airspace is defined in the U.S. Code, 49 U.S. Code, Section 4103. And basically it says that the public right of transit through the airspace is the responsibility of the United States government. They own the airspace. They own all the airspace over the United States, whether that airspace is over an airport or whether that airspace is over private property or whether that airspace is over Yellowstone National Park. And we are always, as citizens of the United States, we are granted a right of transit through that navigable airspace. So that has been established by law. That 49 U.S. Code Section 4103 is the United States law, as established by the Congress and approved by the President of the United States a long time ago. There is a regulatory responsibility for the use of that airspace, and it's embedded in the Federal Aviation Administration. The Federal Aviation Administration is responsible for managing the airspace and establishing rules and regulations that govern the use of that airspace, and their primary job is safety. And whenever you talk to an FAA representative and you ask them what their responsibility to the airspace is, they'll say to make sure that it's a safe place in which to fly. So when you start flying your drone, you actually become part of that airspace, and you have the same responsibilities. You don't necessarily need a pilot's license unless you unless you go ahead and get your Part 107 certificate and become a PIC, pilot in command. It applies. There's a whole set of other rules that you have to adhere to because if you're a Part 107 pilot, you're doing it because you're flying commercially. That means you're earning revenue as a result of your flights. And so you have a whole new set of rules that you have to follow. And it's safer, and insurance is easier to get, and it makes you look really professional when you have that certificate. So just keep that in mind. So the administering agencies that I have to move my chair here. My lower half of my body was going to sleep. The administering agencies that we have to deal with when we're flying drones as part of our search include the National Park Service, the state park services in what we call the four treasure states, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, the National Forest Service, the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Bureau of Land Management, tribal lands, and private property. So I'm going to go through each one of those in their turn, but it's made relatively easier because many of them have exactly the same set of rules. And we're going to start with the National Park Service. The National Park Service is actually a system of parks, and you probably can't read all of this. You're going to have to save it till later. I'm not going to go through them. But for example, Yellowstone is a national park. Chaco Canyon is a national monument. Manassas or Gettysburg are national battlefields. All the rules apply, all the rules regarding UAS apply to all of these park service assets. So they don't change. Whether you're at a national seashore, the only thing I can recommend to you is that if where you're going starts with the word national, the rules apply, except in one case where we have we have a couple of international historic sites because we share them with both Canada and Mexico. So these cautions apply to all of these assets in the national park system. So here are their rules. And what you're going to see is they establish their rules via a memorandum, policy memorandum 14-05, and it was issued in 2014. It has been modified slightly since then, but not by much. And basically the UAS policy for the national parks system, not just the National Park Service, but the National Park System, is they prohibit the launching and landing or operation of unmanned aircraft in any of those assets over any of the lands that they're responsible for managing. They reinforce that later in the paragraph by saying this action applies to the launching, landing, and operation of unmanned aircraft on lands and waters administered by the National Park Service. So there's this interesting little caveat down at the bottom. And one of the things that you find out after working with government agencies for as long as I have is that they always write their rules and memoranda in their best interest and within the rules and regulations. So remember I said earlier that it is the Federal Aviation Administration that is chartered with managing the sovereign airspace over the United States of America. So the National Park Service doesn't have the authority to manage the airspace. What they do have the authority to manage is the property that they administer. In this case, they're, how do they refer to it? Lands and waters administered by the National Park Service. So if you want to float your drone in the Yellowstone River and launch it or land it from there, you can't do it according to the National Park Service because the Yellowstone River is part of the National Park Service system as it goes through Yellowstone. So, but then they have this interesting paragraph at the end. This policy memorandum does not modify any requirement imposed by the Federal Aviation Administration on the use or operation of unmanned aircraft in the national airspace system. Now you can see that's kind of convoluted the way they say it, but basically what they're saying is the rule that's established in this memorandum applies to our property, but it doesn't apply to the responsibilities that of the FAA, which is to govern the airspace. So here's the tricky thing about National Park Service UAS policy. They can tell you you can't launch or land from land or water managed, but they can't prevent you from flying over in the airspace with exceptions. So I'm going to give you those exceptions. Did I include those exceptions here? Okay. So here's the sticky wicket. If you go to sticky wicket, take a shot. We use the phrase sticky wicket.
Oh, okay.
So here's you can't take a second shot. I have to use it again because I interrupted myself.
Ah.
So here's the sticky wicket. And I'm going to use Yellowstone as an example. Yellowstone in the National Park system is considered one of the gems of the National Park system. So they send their best people there. And those best people there do a hell of a job of protecting it. And in Yellowstone, there is only one thing that those park rangers and the superintendent for that matter, dislike more than drones, and that's fen searchers. So if you're a fen searcher with a drone, they're going to find every possible way they can to mess with you. Okay, I don't know whether you saw the Nightline episode that Dale Neitzel and Cynthia Meacham were in, the one produced by Nightline. But there were several drone shots in there, and because of where they were searching, where Dale said they were searching, they were actually within the park. You can get a waiver from the superintendent of parks if you're somebody like Nightline. To be able to fly in the park for a very specific period of time at a very specific altitude, et cetera, et cetera. So it is possible to get a waiver if you have a damn good reason for it. And the damn good reason for it is that your park is going to be presented on national television. So the curious thing to me about it was whether or not Nightline told them that the story was going to be about the Fenn treasure and the hunters looking for the Fenn treasure in Yellowstone National Park. So just be very cautious with all of the National Park Service properties. No launching or landing. And if they can find an excuse to nail you, they will. So make sure that if you decide to fly over National Park Service property, that you're not harassing anyone and that you're not harassing the wildlife. And all it takes is one complaint from an individual in the park or a bear to complain.
Damn bears
Those
again.
damn bear- And this isn't going to be fixed with bear spray. So all it takes is one complaint of harassment, nuisance, or invasion of privacy by one of those people in the park to get the Park Service lit up and chasing after you, even if you're off park property. Some parks have the low altitude requirement. I tried to get the low altitude requirement for Yellowstone, couldn't find it. But I heard, and this is complete rumor, that it's 1,000 feet, which puts you in a real funny place because as an FAA certified flyer, you can't fly over 400 feet without permission anyway. So now you have to fly at 1,000 feet, and their logic is that way you can't harass either the wildlife or the people that are visiting the park. Check if you decide to go ahead with flying over Yellowstone or any of the National Park Service's properties anywhere, and you're going to follow the rules of launching and landing off the park property. Make sure you check with the park to see what their minimum altitude is, and that way you can stay out of trouble. The second requirement for flying over park properties, National Park Service system properties, is that you must maintain line of sight. That means you cannot fly over any kind of horizon that prevents you from being able to see the drone. That likely also means that you have to have an associate with you so that they can maintain line of sight while you're flying. I don't know how many of you have flown a drone, but what ends up happening is you're watching the tablet or smartphone in front of you, because it has all the information you need to be able to fly. You will eventually one day lose line of sight. You'll use your fly to home button eventually. You can't do that in the National Park Service. If you decide that you want to fly from outside the park and in to get a picture of Old Faithful, for example, you're going to lose line of sight. And that's going to be enough for a ranger to come out and arrest you because he's going to be able to prove that you didn't have line of sight because it's all documented on that smart device in front of you. And for these infractions, you can be charged a $5,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. There was the best story the Park Service has is a German drone pilot that flew over one of the geysers. I don't know if it was one of the picture, crashed into the geyser and was arrested. I think they fined him and then let him go because he was from out of country. But it does happen, and they will stop you. So the benefit to this presentation, as I said earlier, is that in the cases of the state parks in New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, they have adopted exactly the same rules as the National Park Service. So you can't fly, you can't land or launch or land in the park. You can fly over it. You must maintain line of sight, no harassment. The rules relating to harassment and nuisance and privacy, all apply, and you must maintain line of sight. Now, they do have fines and jail terms associated with them. They're not as long as the federal park system, and I couldn't find a situation in which somebody spent time in jail for flying over a state park for nuisance, privacy, or harassment. But you can do it. We were told in Colorado when we visited the state park at Browns Canyon, that we couldn't fly, and we were told at Sinks Canyon in Wyoming that we couldn't fly. But they don't tell you that you can fly onto the park if you launch and land outside the park. They won't provide you that information. When it comes to these facilities, the state park facilities, ask. They might let you do it. You might be in a place where they allow you to do it. And if you can, just get a short written okay from one of the Park Service rangers saying, I gave them permission to fly, in case you get stopped by another park ranger, or at least get their name and badge number so that you have something. It doesn't hurt to ask. And in these cases, do not, what I'm suggesting, sometimes I recommend, as you'll see later on, that it's easier to apologize than to ask permission. Don't do it in these cases. Ask permission. You probably won't get it, but ask anyway, you might. Tribal lands have adopted the same policy as the National Park Service, but it's worse. So on tribal lands, not only if you land or launch on tribal lands, you're not only breaking federal law, you're breaking tribal law. So you'll get 2 jail terms, 1 in a tribal prison, and you'll get 2 fines. You can technically land and launch off tribal lands and fly over tribal lands, but in my experience, they will attempt to shoot your drone down. Shooting a drone out of the sky by anyone is against FAA regulations. It's against the law to do so. The tribes don't care. They're going to shoot your drone, and for some reason or other, there's a lot more guns aiming into the sky than any place else. In addition to that, on tribal lands, if you launch or land on tribal lands and you're caught, not only will you lose your drone, you'll lose the truck or the car, the vehicle, that you drove onto the tribal lands with, and the contents of that vehicle. So my advice to you is, unless you have written permission from the governor and or the council of that tribe to fly on or over that land, stay away from it with your drone. Don't even drive within 5 miles of the place, because it's just not worth the trouble. It's going to be a lot more trouble, and the tribal lands are run very much like they're authoritarian. They rely on the governor and the council. They make their own laws, and they have the right to do that. And some of those laws that can't be in contravention of U.S. laws. Technically, you can fly over in the airspace of tribal lands. But I guarantee you, if you do and you're caught, they will make your life miserable, and you will lose stuff. So that's my advice. So private property, according to the rules established by the FAA, you can't launch or land on private property without the permission of the property owner. And all it takes is the word of the property owner. So make sure you have that permission if you're launching or landing, and if you're flying over their property. If you're not launching or landing on private property with permission, then don't do it. If you're flying over private property, this debate has gotten to the courts, but it hasn't been adjudicated. The ownership of the airspace over private property hasn't been adjudicated by the Supreme Court. So, and it literally varies from case to case and who the judge likes and doesn't like. But there are several things that you have to consider. Private property owners have a right to privacy. So if you're flying over their property, and you're flying at 50 feet, they could claim an invasion of privacy, which becomes a federal law. They also can claim that you're being a nuisance by flying over their property, that you're, chasing their cows or something. But they can claim that nuisance, and that's enough to get you arrested by the local sheriff if you are a nuisance. Now, the definition of nuisance is what they use most often, and that in various cases has been defined everything from 80 feet to around 500 feet in altitude. And the reason is this didn't start with drones. This started with low-flying aircraft, fixed-wing airplanes, rotary wing airplanes, gliders, etc., etc. So anytime they want, they can claim either nuisance or invasion of privacy, and it could mean some problems for you. They're going to have a heck of a time proving it. There have been cases of private property owners shooting down drones. You'll lose the drone. You'll never get the drone back. You may be able to fight it. It's against federal regulation to shoot things out of the sky, but you're going to end up spending months and lots of money trying to get your drone back. Just walk away and go buy another drone, and don't do that again. Okay, so our friends, we do have friends in all of this, in the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Forest Service. In any of those properties, you are free to launch, fly, and land. Now, every once in a while, you're going to get you're going to be at a like in Pilar, you'll be at a camping. What do they call those areas? Campsite areas, and it's going to be run by a civilian who is paid to run that campsite for the Bureau of Land Management. And they may not understand or know all the rules, and they could come and stop you. If they do try to stop you, ask them if you're on BLM land and say that BLM enables you to fly freely. Now, kind of the same rules apply. You have to avoid harassing people and wildlife, because if either the people or the wildlife complain to that campsite manager, that's enough to have you can't get arrested, you can't get fined, but it's enough to have you asked to stop flying and maybe even get off the property. So avoid that if you can. You shouldn't be flying over, teenagers swimming in the lake, for God's sakes. The privacy and nuisance rules apply in the BLM. So even though you can launch and land and BLM and National Forest Service property, you still can't harass people, and they are entitled to their privacy, and you can't be a nuisance. The exceptions to the BLM and NFS policy is that you can't fly during emergency situations. The National Forest Service is especially touchy about forest fires because they've already had several near misses as a result of people flying drones over fires and conflicting with the aircraft that are trying to control the fire. So stay away from them. The fine gets even bigger in emergencies. It goes up to 3 years and $15,000. So if you're caught, even though you can say I have the authority to fly over BLM and National Forest Service land, which is true, and you get busted, you're going to find out that during an emergency they don't care. In the case of BLM and NFS, I will say it's easier to apologize than to ask permission. Go ahead, launch, plan to land, avoid being a nuisance, avoid invading somebody's privacy, don't harass the wildlife, fly to your wish if you get stopped. Ask them if they could cite the regulation, the BLM regulation. You should have that in your back pocket anyway, or at least on your phone, because it's okay for it to fly in BLM and NFS lands. And they're very rational about it. Not only do they basically say, since we don't own the airspace, we're not going to tell you what to do. So as long as you're behaving yourself, you'll be able to fly from BLM and National Forest Service lands. So one of the things I'm going to recommend is that if you have a drone, or if you're planning to get a drone, the first thing that you should do is register your drone with the FAA. I'm going to warn you, it costs $5 to do so. It's an important thing to do because it's basically gets you the equivalent of a tail number. So that way, if you ever lose your drone anywhere in a national park, in a park system or not, your drone can be returned to you, because part of the registration includes your email address and phone number, so they can return your drone. And you can't be held responsible for damages caused by a runaway drone, basically. I will also advise you that there are several companies in place that will register for you and will charge you a fee of around $25. So it's costing you $20 to have them do the work for you. It takes 10 minutes and $5. So, and it's not rocket science. It's the information that you should have memorized already, like your name, your birth date, your phone number, and your home address, et cetera, et cetera. So when you do go to register, make sure you go to www.faa.gov/UAS/getting_underscore started. You can see it at the bottom of this window. And if you do a Google search on UAS registration, all those companies that know how to do the SEO will come to the top, and they'll say FAA drone registration. You'll click on it, and it's going to cost you $24 instead of $5. So make sure you go to the right website to register your drone. Takes, like I said, 5, maybe 10 minutes at the outside, and it'll cost you $5. So, the other thing about your drone registration is once you've done it, it applies to all your drones. So you don't have to do it more than once. You can put the same number on multiple drones. You can, the drone that I'm opening today, I don't know whether I told you, I put my other drone on eBay and it sold in a day. So I peeled off that registration number from it, and I can take that same registration number and apply it to this new drone. So once you only have to buy it once. So the FAA provides everyone 2 kinds of guidelines. One is what they call the hobbyist guidelines, and they were designed early on. They were established early on for the radio control fixed wing pilots, and so they call these the hobbyist guidelines. They're the ones that the AMA promotes. So my recommendation to you is, although they're pretty good guidelines, I'm going to tell you to ignore those guidelines in their entirety, the FAA hobbyist guidelines. Now, there are some guidelines for you, and they are the USA guidelines for.
UAS.
I'm sorry, UAS guidelines for. Thank you. Way to keep me on track there.
I gotta do something today.
There are things that you're really, really good at. There are things that I'm really, really good at, and this is one of the things I'm really, really good at.
Yeah, okay. I'm good at saying, how about here? Can we fly here? And then you have to answer it.
Yeah, good. That's really true. Can we raise the drone here? So what I'm going to recommend to you, even though you're not planning to get a Part 107 certification, which requires a test, you've got to study and you've got to pass a test in order to do that. The test costs anywhere, depending on where you do it, from $100 to $140. And if you pass it, you have to score 80%. If you pass it, you get your 107 certificate. That enables you to fly commercially. You can earn money while you're flying. But what I'm going to recommend is that you adhere to these guidelines, even though you are not flying, that you're not planning to get a Part 107 certificate, and that you're not flying commercially. You can fly for recreational use. It includes registering your drone. You have to fly a drone that's under 55 pounds. Now, really, they have a minimum and maximum. The minimum is 0.55 pounds, which is 250 grams, which is actually a very small drone, up to 55 pounds. After that, it's a completely different certification. None of the drones that you should be flying the way that we're flying them is going to be anywhere near 55 pounds. You always have to fly within visual line of sight. That means you can't lose track of your drone. It also means that as a pilot in command, or a PIC, Part 107 certified pilot in command, you have to have a spotter with you at all times looking at the drone. Again, since you're not Part 107, this is not a requirement for you, but I am going to strongly recommend you adhere to that policy anyway, just for safety's sake. Don't fly near other aircraft or over people. You're going to find there are limitations flying around airports. If you're going to fly within an airport, a 5-mile radius of an airport, you're going to have to call the airport tower. You're going to get a voicemail system, and all you have to do is, on that voicemail system, tell them when, where, and at what time you are flying. That's all you are required to do. And then you have to maintain that limitation of 400 feet. So don't, and that's the next bullet here, don't fly in controlled airspace or near airports without FAA permission. You don't need their permission. They listen to those messages every night. If they have a problem with it, they will call you back. If they don't have a problem with it, they will not call you back, because they get a lot of them. I mean, if you're flying in Santa Fe, New Mexico, you're not going to, they don't get a lot of them. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is make sure that that you let them know that you're flying. Like I said, you're going to get a voicemail system. And then again, for a Part 107 flyer, fly during daylight and fly between dawn and dusk, basically. Civil dawn and civil dusk or twilight, and fly at 400 feet or below. If you're doing this commercially and you've got an 800-foot tower that you have to inspect, you can get a waiver to do that, and that's a sign-on system. You can do it online. But again, that's if you're flying commercially, if you're getting paid for it. So as I said earlier, you're going to see two sets of guidelines. You're going to see the hobbyist guidelines, and you're going to see the Part 107 guidelines. I'm going to recommend to you, even though you're not Part 107 PIC certified, use the Part 107 guidelines. They will be safer for you, and they will be safer for the airspace that you're flying in. A couple of things to help you include the FAA's app called Before You Fly. Put it on your cell phone. Take it with you. Before you fly, you can see here that based on my location, it's telling me what my flight restrictions are. It turns out that I'm within 5 miles of not only several airports but several heliports. So that means I have to inform the airport if I'm going to fly out of my backyard, for example. But it's very helpful. You can actually search for places like Yellowstone or other parks or other state parks or other locations in which you're going to fly, and it will come up with a map for that area and tell you what the restrictions are. You can see this one doesn't have any, but you'll see a little marker up here that's everything from a little no fly your drone thing to a yield sign with an exclamation point, etc., etc. And it will tell you if you've got a problem flying in that area. So in this area, I don't have a problem flying, but I do have to call the airport tower and let them know when, where, and what time I'll be flying and for how long. Okay, so that's the first app. That's, again, free app Before You Fly. And that's an FAA app. It's kind of clunky, but it's helpful and it works. So once you get past the clunkiness. So let's go on to insurance. The most often used insurance is something called Verifly. And Verifly also determines on your smartphone where you are, and then it cites you a quote for flying. The standard quote is 1 hour for 1/4 mile from where you're located. Now, there's a little options button down here. You can press that options button, and you'll get options for the area from 1/4 mile to 2 miles. 2 miles, you make sure you're not flying, you've got to be flying line of sight. The time from 1 hour to 8 hours, the limit from 1 million to 10 million, the weight up to 15 pounds to 35 pounds, whether you're flying outdoors, indoors, or both, or whether you're racing. And then it'll give you a quote for that period of time, the information that you provided. So in my area, if I wanted to fly out 2 miles, I wanted to fly for 4 hours, I want a $10 million policy, and I'm going to fly 35 pounds, and I'm doing it. I'm up to $1,078 for a policy of that size, okay? But it'll tell you how much it is, and then it'll, of course, charge it to your debit card. But if I'm at 1/4 mile, I'm going to fly for 1 hour. I want a $1 million policy. I'm under 15 pounds. I'm flying outdoors, and I'm not racing. It's $10. And that's what you're going to find out is that's a very cheap form of insurance, and it's pay as you go. Is that the right way to describe it?
Yeah.
Pay as you go. So you don't have to maintain a policy. Once you agree to it and you pay for it, it will download the policy writer to your cell phone so that if somebody walks up to you and asks you, are you insured, you can show them the policy writer on your cell phone, and you can print that policy writer if you have a commercial client that requires insurance beforehand. So and you can actually establish the dates and times that you're going to fly beforehand so that you can get the policy writer printed out and handed to your commercial client. So that's one way to get insurance. I highly recommend whenever you fly that you insure yourself. You don't even, I practice probably at least once a week, sometimes twice, and I go to a park and I don't always get insurance there because I'll show you why not in just a minute. But if you're flying, for any purpose, including searching for the treasure, I'm going to strongly recommend that you get the insurance beforehand and make sure you're covered in case your drone gets away from you and crashes into baby Jimmy. I don't know. You don't want that to happen.
It's always some baby eating an ice cream cone.
Yeah, well, that's
isn't
what, when I used to do this presentation, it was always a baby eating an ice cream cone at a park. So, yeah, but that's going to protect you because it does provide you liability insurance. One of the other things that Verifly will do for you is it will tell you if you're flying in a restricted airspace. Now, as I said earlier, if you're near an airport and you've gotten a number that gives you permission to fly, you can clear that with Verifly. If you're in one of the national parks, if you're launching or landing from one of the national parks, it will tell you it can't insure you because it knows those areas. There is software in the DJI drones that they incorporate into it that prevents you from flying in no-fly zones, and those no-fly zones are defined by the FAA, and then via software and software update, firmware and firmware update. DJI puts them into their drones, and you cannot launch that DJI drone if you're in one of those no-fly zones.
So Bill Gorman just wanted to clarify if the insurance covers the drone itself as well as any damage it might do.
Yes, yeah, it's full liability. So you can make a claim for the cost of the drone, and you can pay any claim made by the property or individual that's claiming that you've done the damage. So the other option is joining the Academy of Model Aeronautics. I've been a member since I was very young. One of my uncles, when we were still flying fly-by-wire aircraft, got me in. It was cheap for a long time until I got to be an adult. The annual membership is $75 unless you're a senior, and then it's $65 a year. It's a very inexpensive investment because once you become a member, you get $2.5 million in liability insurance for your flights. You also get $25,000 worth of medical coverage and $1,000 worth of fire and theft coverage. So if you plan to fly, more than 6 times in a year, meaning you'd have to use Verifly at $10 a shot, you might as well get yourself an annual membership at the AMA. Their coverage is great. It's provided by a major insurance company. I think it's nationwide, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But I renew my membership every year, even though I don't go to their meetings, I don't vote, I don't do anything with the Academy of Model, and they send you a monthly magazine, which is actually pretty good. I don't do anything with them. I do appreciate the fact that they provide this insurance. So it's another alternative to Verifly. And there's nothing wrong with using both. So if you have that kind of situation, you want the protection. The reason I ended up going back to the AMA is because we found ourselves searching in areas where we didn't have a cell phone service. So I couldn't reach Verifly to get the insurance. And that's when I decided to have this as a backup. My first choice, regardless of the expense, is to go with Verifly if I can get to them via cell phone. If not, my backup is the AMA annual membership insurance. Okay, so the next thing that we're doing is I ordered a FLIR camera and recorder and transmitter from Intelligent SUAS. And that will effectively mount on the back of the new drone, and it will give me thermal imaging capability as I fly. So what's amazing in all this is that you're basically getting a thermal imaging drone that you can fly out to 7 kilometers, and the total cost is let me see if I can do this in my head, less than $1,200, which for somebody who's been in this business as long as I have, just an amazing number. It's like having the power of, the computers that went into the first space shuttle right here in your hand. It's the same thing with this drone technology. So very exciting where we're going. Okay, I'm done.
Phew. So while Toby's getting the box out, I'll just tell you again where to keep in touch with us. And you can, of course, subscribe to us at agypsieskiss.tv for our YouTube channel, and then click on the bell to get notifications. You can find our blog at agypsieskiss.com. You can also subscribe to the blog, and that way you'll know when we put up updates. And we have special pages for photographs, and do we have one for videos yet?
We do. There's two menu items, one for photo albums and one for our videos. It's only keeping track of the last 44 videos, so
Okay.
you'll have to come, but it's a good way to find everything
Yeah.
that we're doing.
And then, of course, we're on Instagram at _gypsies_kiss. And we do put up frequent announcements just about every day, letting you know what's happening. So it's a good place to subscribe to that. And it pops up if you're on Instagram as much as I am, then you'll appreciate it. So then we're on Twitter at @gypsies. We're on Facebook at @gypsies kiss. And we occasionally do things other than just post there, like live videos and such, but mostly it's just posting with updates. We have Gmail at @gypsieskiss@gmail.com if you'd like to get a hold of us by email.
So you can also buy our merchandise at zazzle.com /@gypsieskiss. And I'm sorry I don't have it. I left it in my car, but my daughter, the artist, that we talk about often, had paid for a Kickstarter campaign to buy this massively sized laser cutter, I guess. And cutter is the best way to describe it. And she was setting it up yesterday, and she called me and asked if I could help her out to set it up in her storage area. And because her husband was busy with the boys, they were swimming thing. So I went over, we set it up, and we got it running. It's an amazing piece of technology. And of course, they've all set it up so it runs with an app and off your computer or your smartphone. And she was looking for stuff to print, and they provided a number of templates for her. And one of them was a 6-inch ruler. And so we did that first. And then she had already purchased a box full at some discount store, at a flea market, of these round wooden buttons. And she said, "Oh, these were fun. Do you have anything?" And I said, "A Gypsy's Kiss logo." So we downloaded it. I sent it to her. She downloaded it, and she laser printed the A Gypsy's Kiss logo on a piece of wood that's going to become a pendant. I've got to turn it into a pendant, but we'll see if we can do something with that, because it really came out beautiful. I was really
like
impressed.
a membership thing.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a good one. Like
Yeah.
a special membership thing.
Special membership.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, she said if you ever want to come over and you can do them, as many as you can fit on this tray. So I imagine you could probably do, 50 or 60 of these things at a time. Now you have to let the laser printer do its business. Each one takes about 3 minutes to print, but you can just leave it for 180 minutes and it will take care of it. So we may have to do more with that. I'm really excited about it.
Glue it on the drone.
Yeah. I have a decal. I have a Gypsy's Kiss decal
yeah?
for a drone. Yeah.
Just like the poster.
Just like the poster. So if you can't use your new iOS feature to to donate via Smart Chat, please feel free to go to our paypal.me/agypsieskiss account, and you can donate to our project here. That helps us to buy
Drones.
and fleers and other things. Yeah, that's got to pay for this somehow.
And the nice thing is, we're going to share our footage with you. So
yeah, exactly.
Yay.
So you'll see some of it as well. So you ready for Q&A?
I think so.
So I think I'll wait so that you guys don't have to.
But Eric's just chomping at the bit here.
Oh, he
Open
is?
that box. Open that box.
Okay, hang on. So I saw another Bill Gorman question. Let me see. Bill had a question.
They all have questions.
Oh, gosh. We're going to have to go back a long way, aren't we?
Well, a lot of it at the beginning is just saying hello.
Okay, Bill, I will get to your... So shall we open the drone now?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Or at least the outer box.
Okay.
Inner box.
We'll open.
Outer
How
box.
about this? We'll open the outer box first, and then we'll open the inner box at the end of the Q&A. How's that?
All right.
All right. So this is the box. Can you see it? This is the box I got from Amazon, and honestly, like I said, this is the 4th drone I've owned. I've never had a drone come in a box this small, so I'm really looking forward to. You okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to opening it and taking a look
Looking at the chat. Chatty chat chat.
Chatty chat chat. Lots of little pillow things. Oh, that's
Pillows.
underneath.
Oh,
Go ahead.
just take the box.
Yeah, all right.
I'll pull out the big one.
So here's the new Gypsy Kiss drone. It's the new Mavic Air in flame red.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Did we mention that it was our anniversary?
I don't think so.
So this new template is actually kind of the change that we made. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is the Shelley and I can never say the plural of this, our anniversary.
For a
it-
Gypsy's Kiss, the
it will
vlog.
be- right. It will be 1 year that we've been doing a Gypsy's Kiss, the blog, tomorrow. And we're very pleased with the progress. We're actually going to celebrate it with a bottle of champagne on our show on Thursday, since we drink wine
Yay.
on Thursday. So here it is, right?
And you got the red one.
Mavic Air,
Flame
and it's their latest technology. And the reason I did this over the Mavic Pro is the camera. It's a 100 megabits per second camera versus a 60 megabits on the Mavic Pro. And I think there's a Mavic Pro 2 that's going to be coming out soon. But I was really looking forward to this. So Eric, we'll save this to the end of Q&A, and we'll open the box then.
All right.
But everything I need is in that box. How cool is that?
Are you ready to get started?
Yeah. Do we have to go back to the Q&A? Do I need to pick up my...
Do we need to change the screen at all, or are we leaving it at that the way it is?
we can leave that up. So what they're
Okay.
going to see is that, and our outro is ready to go when it comes to that point.
Okay. So we have Joe Lewicki, Eric Schmidt saying hello, Brian Eagle, hello, 11 Bravo Treasure Finder, hi, hey, T.I. Mattis is here, Stephen Marilat says thanks to the mods, again, thank you, Dave Erickson, hey Toby, hey everybody, B Cross, yo, Brian Eagle, Jimmy Fast, Paul McGinty, Eric Schmidt, Paul Ammons, fans of the drone jamboree. B Cross, he thinks you already peeked inside the box.
No. Look at, you know what it has? This is a cellophane wrapper.
Plastic.
Plastic. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do just to prove that I haven't peeked in the box. I'm actually going to cut
He
this.
couldn't, he was beside himself. I can't open this. Rick Plank
So
from
there, see?
Cincinnati.
Cellophane. So no,
Yeah.
I didn't open the box.
Eric Schmidt, Dave Erickson, Paul Wood, Paul Oder Rubikson, Dan Rudy, good afternoon. Captain Ahab Seeks, greetings all. That's a new name to me. Jeremy Milstead, salutations. Mike Hodge from Orange County, California. He says, I bet it's the DJI Mavic Air.
Oh,
Was he
before I
right?
open the box? Yes, yes it is. Yeah.
David Dow, I love drones. Jared Atchley, maybe check for updates. I'm not sure what that is. David Dow, my son and I are getting ready to build up an Armaton rooster, 5-inch running on 5S batteries. 5 batteries?
That's a racer.
Oh, okay. Steve Smitherman, Bill Gorman, Stephen Marilat, Miter Broler. This is Choby keeps droning on about governmental regulations. Ha! Actually, Kevin told me I should use that sometime today.
Droning on.
Droning on.
He's just droning on.
So evidently, Miter has the same kind of sense of humor as my husband. And Eric Schmidt says, this is right up Toby's alley. Much appreciated to have the detail. Brian Eagle, AGK, this is so cool. I'm
You-
not sure if he means the drones or the format change.
Yeah, let us know whether you like our new format change. We're having a great time with it. We're using OBS,
OBS.
Open Broadcasting Software, and we're going to be using it for all our shows. It's an easy setup. It doesn't require me to tear apart my house to be able to do this, and we'll be using it for our interview shows as well. It's I don't want to say it's an easy to use software. If you're familiar with editing, film editing and other technologies, it is actually pretty straightforward. The concept of a switcher is very
But you've
familiar
used
to
a
us.
switcher for
Yeah.
many, many
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
What do you think? What was it called? The one you used?
TriCaster.
The TriCaster, right. So if you know how to use a TriCaster, you'll pick right up on
Right.
it. But
It'll-
if you
it'll make all
haven't,
sense.
it'll take you a while.
Right. It's not good. People on YouTube go like, this is going to be the hardest piece of software you've ever had to use, and it actually wasn't.
Virgil Kane, hello from Iowa. Coyote Jack, simplify if you can. That's good advice, always. And I think this, now that Toby's figured out how to use it, and it took him a few days, almost a week, to get everything set up the way he wanted it. But like he said, we don't have to set up the big
Lights,
light
the camera,
stand and the camera and all of the equipment that we had it is simplified. So yeah, it is good advice. Let's see. Bill Gorman, they mainly don't want people harassing the raptors. I guess at the Yellowstone Park, they're worried about the raptors.
The Boyds.
Yeah.
It's almost any animal. If it's Yellowstone, they're going to find a reason to ping you.
And then he says, GPS can fail in deep canyons and drift into the canyon walls. I did that once. Drone tumbled down the cliff, bounced out to go in the creek, and regained flight. Missing 1/4 of a prop. Recovered.
There's a couple of things. That's why you should learn to fly in sport mode, which is GPS free, and be able to control it. And then also the DJI drones have sensors on. In the case of the Mavic, they have them on the sides, on the bottom, and on the front. Or I'm sorry, the front and the bottom. The Mavic Air has them on the front, the back, and the bottom. So. You shouldn't be crashing into cliffs or birds or trees.
The newest invention is to keep it from crashing into things. Yeah. Eric Schmidt gives
I have some Phantom 1 stories that are just amazing.
Eric Schmidt gives us a link: nps.gov, Yell, Learn Management, Film Permit. I'm not quite all sure what that's all about.
Yellowstone. Learn management zone.
Film permit.
Okay.
Yeah,
you'll need one if you can apply. It still has to be approved by the superintendent.
And Bill Gorman adds, Forest Service is okay to fly. You can't fly over sporting events like ski areas. Felony to harass birds of prey.
Yeah.
Stephen Marilat says, Shelley always has awesome neckwear.
She does, doesn't she?
Yeah. It's this glass necklace stuff. Toby loves that stuff.
So what happens is I go to visit my daughter at the Rail Yards Market, which is, no, I don't want to call it a flea market. They have that during the summers, during the spring, summer, and fall, at a place called the Rail Yards, which is an old huge old building that they have it in. And right across from where she sets up, there's always a guy selling this glass jewelry. And it's not masculine at all. It's very feminine, and but I really like the look. So every time I do, I end up buying a piece. And Shelley and my daughter are the only ones I can give it to. So they have lots of those pieces. So.
Yeah. Then there was somebody crashing our little conversation, and Jimmy Fast took care of it, and everybody said thank you.
Oh.
So
some nasty person.
That happened. Bill Gorman says solo drone is cheap. And I found very unreliable. First one caught itself on fire.
Nice. So if, DJI doesn't pay me to do this, but they're the oldest, they're the most refined. They have a really good product development process. They have a really good, the one disadvantage to DJI is their customer support sucks. Thankfully, they don't need a lot of customer support because their products are so reliable and they're easy to use. Flying in their GPS mode, literally anybody can learn how to fly one of these drones. So I stick with DJI. And the other thing too is I've gotten used to using the DJI products and the DJI app.
And Paul Ammon says, you can attach a good metal detector to a drone if it's too far to walk.
I can see our metal detector hanging from the drone.
Eric Schmidt says, let's open that package. Let's see, Bill Gorman. Mary Green, a wireless XP Deus battery lasts longer than the drone battery. The XP remote has the range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not unusual. With this particular Mavic Pro, The DJI specs give you 21 minutes. I know from experience it'll be more like 17. So I always recommend, and that's what I did. Whenever you order a drone, DJI has what they call the Fly More option, which includes a couple of additional batteries. And since they take so long to charge, all drone batteries are that way. I highly recommend it. They're expensive. They're $80. But get them. It's a good investment so that you're not trapped out in the booting someplace with one battery and then having to wait for it to recharge. Better to have multiple batteries, have them all charged up. And they're LiPo batteries, so they hold a charge very nicely.
Coyote Jack says, I just don't see how using a drone can possibly help here.
I'm not sure that we disagree, but they're fun.
Yeah, and it's like going to the Denver Museum. You have to rule it out
Yeah.
before you can just say, as of no use.
What we have found is not only is it fun to make the films and focus on Shelley as she's walking up and down these various areas that we walk up and down, but it gives you a real good sense of the lay of the land as you get there. As we mentioned in our show on Boots on the Ground, what you're going to find boots on the ground is going to be very different from what you see on a map. So when you get there, the other disadvantage you have is you're going to be boots on the ground. You're not going to have that bird's eye view that Google Earth provides you. So one of the nice things about the drone is you can launch it and fly over the area that you're looking at and get a real good sense, a bird's eye view sense of the area, and bring home some great visual imagery. I mean, it's just the view that you get from these aircraft, especially with this one now, 4K camera, massive resolution in terms of 100 megabits per second. The imagery, and now you can fly this, or you can shoot this at 1080p at 120 frames a second, which gives you that beautiful slow motion effect. If nothing else, just bring back the beauty of the location. I wish we could have flown at Sinks Canyon. It was just amazing, and I imagined that it could have been beautiful from the air. So, yeah, I'm not suggesting that every searcher go out and buy a drone and start using it for their search. I'm suggesting that if you can afford buying a drone and learning how to fly it, do it, because it's a lot of fun.
Let me see if I can get through the rest really quickly, because we've hit our hour.
Let's keep going for a while.
Okay. Bill Gorman wants to know, I registered my drone and it was replaced under warranty. Do I need a new registration, or can I update the SN?
The second, update the serial number. Each pilot in command is assigned one registration number, and then you just update the serial number associated with it. And do that quickly so you're not stuck with the old serial number that for whomever you sold your old drone to.
Sea Monkeyfication wants to know, why do you want thermal capability?
Oh, okay, so heck of a question. So I have a theory, and the theory is, and this is all dependent on how the treasure. If the treasure is hidden in a cave, or if it's buried, it's not going to do me any good. But my theory is that the treasure, because of the amount of metal that it contains, both the bronze and all the gold inside, is going to absorb heat throughout the day, and it's going to give it off a lot slower than the surrounding area in the evening. So if I fly my drone at dusk with a thermal imaging device, then I can identify objects that are giving off a different thermal signature than the surrounding area. So that's all hypothetical, but it's enough of an excuse so that I could buy a FLIR. So that's what it boils down to. It's boys' toys. Sorry, guys. I just don't have any other way to explain it.
Eric Schmidt wants to know, can you still communicate with the drone if there is no cell coverage?
Yes, because you're communicating with the drone either via a radio signal, 5 point something. There's a standard set of radio signals that are used for remote control. In the case of the Mavic Air, they actually use a wireless signal, a 5 gigahertz wireless signal to communicate. And the Mavic Air has a shorter range. It's up to 7 kilometers than, say, the Mavic Pro. The difference between the two is the Mavic Pro is a radio signal. The Mavic Air is a wireless, basically an internet wireless signal that it uses to communicate. The only thing that you need your cell phone for is your visual collection device. It gives you all your telemetry from the drone, and you can see what the camera sees. on your cell phone, but you do not require cell phone service. You will require cell phone service for either before you fly or verify, but again, in the areas that we're flying in, you can do that beforehand, and then just go. You'll have all the information you need to go into that area and fly.
Sea monkeyfication. How difficult is it to fly a drone, and how long does it take to become a reasonably good pilot?
So you can learn if you were to buy a DJI drone, fly it in GPS mode, watch a couple of videos on YouTube from DJI. You can fly in an hour, but it's going to take hours of practice and hours of use to get comfortable with it. The first time you fly, the drone is not a big device, so you're going to lose sight of it eventually. The first time that happens, you're going to panic, and you'll be able to hit the fly to home button to get it back to you. But they've made it relatively painless. But the first drone that I had was a Phantom 1, which was fly-by-wire, basically. You flew by the seat of your pants, and it didn't have a camera. It had an adapter so that you could adapt your GoPro to it, and there was no communications between the camera and your receiver. And that was a monster to fly. That took a lot of effort to learn how to fly. You didn't have stabilization, you didn't have GPS positioning, you didn't have any of these things. So the advantage that I had was that when I learned, I actually had to learn how to fly the damn thing, and be good with it without, again, stabilization, without telemetry or anything else. It was literally fly-by-wire and line of sight. But with today's drones, they're made so that a 13-year-old can pick them up and get off their little texting machines
And get on their little
and get on their little
machine.
drone machine, and they will be able to fly it. The more you fly it, the better you'll get. People that are serious about it will fly several hours a week for a variety of different reasons. Aside from the fact that, as Shelley will tell you, it's just an amazing experience to see the world from that perspective and have control over what you're doing, and then record it with these high resolution cameras. And I don't even have the highest resolution. In the new DJI Phantom 4, they have a higher resolution camera with a 1-inch sensor. Now, it's twice the price of this particular, and I didn't need it. I'm not doing commercial work anymore. But seeing the world from that perspective, being able to document it in high resolution and sometimes slow motion, is an amazing experience. I mean, it's kind of the reliving the experience that we had from going from film cameras to digital recording cameras.
Well, yeah, it's like a helicopter shot without the expense of the helicopter.
Exactly.
So it's neat.
Yeah, it's a really good feeling. And one of the things that they've made available to you, not only DJI but other companies have made available to you, the interactive goggles. And so you get this bird's eye view. Yeah, this bird's eye view of the aircraft. Now, whenever you do that, you're going to need a spotter because you're not going to have sight of the camera. You're not going to be line of sight. But that, in and of itself, so I've only done it once, testing them when I was in Las Vegas, and that in and of itself is an amazing experience.
Yeah. We went to a filmmakers showcase here in Albuquerque, and there are a lot of independent filmmakers in the area because the film industry is so big here. And there's another pilot that we know, drone pilot that we know, Luke. And he had created a film. And part of the film, he was flying the drone over somebody running through just it was a rocky outcropping kind of a cliff, and he ended up running up to the very edge of the cliff, and the drone was following the man running, and he stopped, but the drone kept going, and it made you feel like you were going to just fall off this cliff. It was amazing.
You got this, literally the tickle in your stomach. It
was like, everybody in the theater was like, whoa! Yeah. It was very memorable.
Yeah, it was an amazing shot, just an amazing shot. And they use the high-end equipment. They're the drones that they use because they work for the film community. They're $30,000 to $40,000 between the drone and the camera that they use. But even that's gone down. You can get the new DJI Inspire drone with what is effectively a high-image sensor, the same sensor that I have in my Lumix camera, and it's going to be around $2,500 to $3,000. So there's a lot of commercial pilots in the area that are using that equipment for very high-end stuff.
Dave Erickson wants to know, how loud are these drones? I've never been around one.
It depends. On the low end, you're probably at 75 decibels if you're 5 feet away from it. On some of the bigger drones, they can go up to 90 decibels at 5 feet. But you start losing sound almost as it moves away from you. So you actually have to rely on your eyes and your ears in order to keep track of the drone. But they don't put off that they aren't that loud. Like I said,
like a small weed whacker.
this particular drone at 5 feet is 75 decibels. So they're not very loud. You can hear them when they're flying over, but what I've seen when I'm flying over people, they'll look up and you can see that they struggle finding the drone. They can hear it, but it's
like a hum.
yeah, yeah. They can hear it, but they can't. It's a high pitched, not a high pitched hum, but a hum.
Yeah.
They can hear it, but they can't see it right away. They don't connect with it right away. They're just very small. And of course, this one is literally 1/4 the size of the drone that I've been flying.
Cal Lazar says hello.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Are you going to be able to join us on Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Wednesday. Mr. G, have you completely discounted the searchers being within 200 to 500 feet thing from Fenn?
No, I haven't discounted that. He said it. Now, we're very cautious about anything regarding to the clues that he set after December of 2010. But we don't think of that as a clue. We just think of that as good marketing on Fenn's part. We take it as good marketing, but he said it so often, there must be something there as a basis. So no, we haven't completely discounted it. We don't, our search, it doesn't affect our solutions at all. So it wouldn't make any difference whether we counted or discounted it.
This is an interesting question from
Okay.
Hoof Hearted. And everybody's wishing good health and get well to Cal Lazar's, by the way.
Oh, that's because he had the,
her knee surgery or something.
Oh, good. Well, I hope it did come out well.
Yeah.
Apparently it's come out pretty good. He's good enough to be here.
Yeah. So here's his question. Assuming found treasure is liquidated and the finder eventually named or inadvertently outed, how would you suggest he or she best monetize the situation, e.g. interviews, etc.?
Well, AG interview is not a way to monetize it because that's a hard question for us to answer because we are so committed to maintaining our anonymity. But let's say somehow or the other it leaked. You won't have to monetize it. People will come and help you monetize it for you if there's an interest. My sense is that these kinds of topics in terms of media interest have a very limited life. And if you're going to do something, it has to be done almost immediately if you want to monetize your brand or fame, if you will. Because I think that all has a limited life. So, if you're not interested in maintaining your anonymity, and if you have a way to provide your security, then make the announcement, make it public, and let the people who are going to come to you, beginning with the Nightlines and the Today shows and things like that, they'll come to you. And the only thing that you need is a good, as usual, a good attorney and a good accountant, somebody who can give you personal brand and marketing advice that can help you make the right decisions when it comes to monetizing it. But you shouldn't have to do anything except, as usual, protect your own interests. You should have a good attorney if you're going to, if you're not planning to remain anonymous. Make sure you have a good attorney, and make sure you have a good product manager, somebody who can tell you the steps that you need to take in order to derive the most financial benefit from whatever you decide to do.
Okay, speaking of attorney, this popped into my head.
Go ahead.
So my son told me the other night he wants to take the LSAT this summer. And so, you know what that means.
Wow.
Yeah, law school. So make sure you check out our PayPal account.
This would be a really good time for our PayPal account or any smart chat
and
that you
share this video everywhere. We need more subscribers if we're going to pay for law school. So yay.
Law school.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool.
You know the reason I joined the military?
To get out of going to law school. Yeah. Hey, maybe you could fund it.
Oh, thanks.
Or maybe, your mom's gone, so it has to be. All right, John Polasic wants to know, Is your sense of the treasure hunt that people are losing interest, or is it still growing?
I can't imagine that they're losing interest. So our channel is growing. Not that we're a big indicator of how it was. Our channel is growing. We get a lot of traffic. We get a lot of people coming to our shows. There are at least 2 new forums that were started. I'm not sure whether that's because the other forums have become such a pain or not. I don't think it's shrinking. I don't believe it's growing as fast as when Fenn does those jobs in 2013 and 2016 to market it. So he's slowed down his marketing. So I think that's going to impact how rapidly it grows. I think it'll continue to grow. I think the big question that I have is what happens when he passes away and how that impacts the search. Because I think a lot of people are relying on him to provide them direction in the form of hints and or clues. And when he passes, they're not going to get that. And I think that could cause a lot of people to lose interest. So I think it's growing, but not as fast as it was growing when he was actively marketing it.
And
Which is kind of the nature of marketing, right?
right. Brian Eagle clarified my question. He says both the info and the format looks great.
Oh, thanks, Brian. That's we like that coming from you because you know what we're dealing with. And again, I think the OBS was at your recommendation, so thank you for that.
They're having a little discussion about San Lazaro and Kyle Sandow.
Oh,
And drones aren't needed since he already found the treasure.
no
so.
comment. No comment.
All right, sea monkeyfication. What drones would you recommend for a drone beginner?
The cheapest one you can start with that gives you all the capability. I think you can still buy the DJI Phantom 3 standard or maybe professional. You can buy it at Walmart for $500. There are other drones out there. There are competing drones, and the disadvantage I have is the only brand that I've ever used is DJI. I know Bill Gorman uses a different brand, and I think he's happy with it. He's never indicated that he's not happy with it. There's also a French company the Autel. They make something very similar to the Phantom, and I think they make it about half the price in terms of competitiveness. But if I had someone that was getting in, I'd go to Walmart, and I had to get them started. I'd go to Walmart. I'd buy them a DJI standard for $500. Good camera, great control, reasonable distance, and if you crash it and burn it, it's not a big expense. So that's where I'd start. And then I'd move up. And the thing that I've discovered most as DJI works to get all this technology into smaller and smaller packages is that it makes it easier for you to lug around. Shelley knows that when we fly the Phantom, it's a backpack, this size. It requires a backpack and a lot of equipment. Well, this basically fits in your, fanny pack, I guess.
Maybe it comes with a fanny pack. I don't know.
The Flymore model, the Flymore combo, it actually has its own little shoulder bag.
So, a couple of questions that kind of go together.
Okay.
Mary Green says, why did you choose the DJI Mavic Air? And Mike Hodge says, did you get DJI Care?
So let me answer Mike's question first. Yes, I did. And I found out that makes it easier because what you do, if you have a problem with it, you send it back. They don't fix it. They send you another one, usually refurbished, but there's not a lot of problems with it. It's runs around, I think, $78 or $80 for this particular model, and it's worth the investment. On the other hand, I can tell you that in the 4 drones that I've owned, I've only had to send one back once, the Phantom 2 that I owned, that was kind of clumpy. I don't know why they did the Phantom 2 at all. It was kind of a clunky drone. And then what was Mary's question?
Why did you get that one, particular one?
I did it for, let me see, 3 reasons. Reason number 1 is it is at the moment their most advanced technology from both firmware and capability. Reason number 2 is it, short of going up to the Phantom 4, it is their best camera. It's a It shoots 4K. It shoots it at 100 megapixels per second, and it shoots 120 frames per second for slow-mo. And then the third reason is it's tiny. It's small and compact and won't require a lot of room to carry around. And it has all the firmware, all the capability that all the other products, plus a couple of firmware enhancements that give you greater control when you're flying. You can actually create what they call small world panoramas from it. So it has a lot of capabilities because it is the latest model. Now, I have heard that they're about to announce their Mavic Pro 2, which will have some additional technology in it, but it's still going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be a bigger of the two. They're always going to put their most advanced technology on the Phantom line. That's why the 1-inch sensor is on the Phantom, and it has greater range, etc., etc. But it's small and it has a great camera on it. That's why I picked it. The disadvantage is the flight time. It has the shortest flight time. So they claim 21 minutes, which I know will translate to around 17.
Mm. We don't usually keep it up in the air for more than 5 to 10 minutes per shot.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do it in our contest. We're not in our context rather. We're not using it as a search tool. We're using it as a film tool. You know, we need a shot. So I send Shelley off into the boonies and with some bear spray and a 9mm handgun.
Sure, I do. A whistle and
a whistle and a radio. Walkie-talkie. So.
Bill Gorman wants to know: is your FLIR a second camera?
It is. Yeah, it rides on top. If you look at the slide that I had put up before, it's actually a compact device that fits on top of the drone. They make it for several Phantom models. And it is a second camera, requires a second monitor that it communicates with. It's basically a standalone device except for the flying part. So it has its own digital recorder, it has its own digital transmitter, and it transmits via wireless to a second, using an app to a second monitor.
I guess you can give your opinion on this. David Dow says you can fly in a no-fly zone if you put tinfoil over one of the antennas. A coworker did it with his Phantom 4 near the Oakland, California airport.
Well, that's you can't do that legally, but you can do it. That's how you get around DJI's no-fly zone restrictions.
But no-fly means no-fly.
Yeah, no-fly means
so.
It's Spanish for no-fly.
I wouldn't do it. And Calazar says he's doing well and he'll be ready for tomorrow.
Yay! We'll talk about that just a little bit.
Right, and Journeyman also remarks that's what will make the FAA come down on drones even harder. And ask the coworker how he would feel if he caused a plane to have any issues. Yeah,
we try to stick within the regs, not only because I'm Part 107 certified and I'm required to do so, but I don't want to lose that certification even though I'm not shooting commercial work with it. But we try really hard to stick within the rules because we know eventually if you have enough people breaking the rules, it's going to get progressively tougher. That's why Yellowstone has gotten so strict about drones. And like I said, the only thing they dislike more than drones at Yellowstone is fence searchers. And the reason is both categories of individuals don't follow the rules, and so it makes it harder for the rest of us that do try to follow the rules. So I don't recommend flying in a no-fly zone, even if you figured out how to do it.
It's a safety issue.
And
just like going in the middle of the Rio Grande is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Going into a no-fly zone with a drone is a bad idea.
Bad idea.
And flying it during a thunderstorm and lightning is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't do those things. They're bad ideas. Paul Ammons wants to know: did you look at the unique H520 with the CGOET dual thermal RGB camera?
I did. I took a look at it when I was in Las Vegas at the Drone Expo and flew it, and thought it had a lot of potential. But again, drones are. I don't mean to harp on this. Drones are like other devices. They're like my favorite. Like my favorite watches are Invictas. The DJI is my favorite drone. It's going to take a lot to get me to go to another drone, just based on the amount of experience I have flying the DJI, using their firmware and using their app. It's like second nature to me now.
Virgil Kane says, your open chat and video format makes it much more interesting than the other sites.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. And it should
That's
make
why we
it.
did it.
We did it because we figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
And because we thought having the open chat, and being able to record the chat here is better for everybody. We think it helps everybody learn, because now somebody can go watch the video, listen to the Q&A, and then watch what's happening on the side there. So yeah, we're real pleased with it.
All right. I'll show you that one. I don't know if you want it read it or not. And that's the bottom of the chat.
Oh, I didn't see Pamela's video posted yesterday on a solution in Washington, D.C. Smithsonian National History Museum. Wasn't Pamela the one that had the solve that involved a religious icon someplace in Colorado?
I saw a movie with Tom Hanks about that.
No. Was he searching for Fenn's treasure? I haven't seen the video. I know that Pamela's done more than one of these, so her solutions are what I would call creative. But I wish you had told me before I left Washington. That would have made it easier on me. So
Well, you're going back. April, right?
I am going back in April. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's She-tron. That's right, Bill, or whoever corrected Bill. Okay, so did we miss anything there?
I don't think so. And we're at hour and a half, so.
And no super chats, huh? Even with you guys that were complaining that you couldn't do it on your own. Okay.
But we appreciate you being here all the same.
We do. I shouldn't even complain.
But do
should I?
please share the video and gives it a thumbs up.
Oh wait, I have that slide, by the way.
So that more people will come along and join our community and help us to grow. And
Nope, that was probably the wrong thing to do.
we're going to try to
I got this in the way of my
in the
keyboard
way
as
of your
well.
keyboard. Okay, I'm going to take my phone back.
Okay. Oh,
Crash.
there goes the iPad. Fell right on top of the drone.
But do share the video. Give it a thumbs up, and that is a contribution in itself, and we appreciate you being here and sharing your questions and your ideas with us today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to go over?
I think that's it. We've answered all the questions. Is there anybody we missed? Make sure, if there's anybody we missed, this would be a good time to let us know, so I don't feel like every once in a while I go back over the chat and I realize that I missed somebody that's not intentional. So I thought I had a slide here that talks a little bit about what we're doing tomorrow.
I thought you did too.
There it is.
Oh,
Okay.
there it is.
So for the rest of the week, that happened when I did that thing. The rest of the week, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're going to have an open discussion, and the topic is, does Fenn's poem require water crossing? Mike Cowling, who's in the room with us today.
Great job.
Hodge.
Interesting topic.
Thank you, Mike Hodge.
Thank you.
If you have a question, let me know before we go so we can get it answered. So Wednesday, 7 p.m., we're going to have an open discussion. Does Fenn's poem require water crossing? Mike Cowling will join us again for the discussion, and we have a special guest joining us for the discussion as well. Yeah, so there's going to be four of us on screen because I've mastered this technology.
Yeah.
Four of us on screen at once. Open Q&A. Well, not open. I mean, Q&A limited to the topic. But you'll be able to ask any one of the four of us. I will tell you in advance, the guest is not Forrest Fenn.
It is not. It is not Dale either.
And it's not Dale. No, it's not anybody who's famous already. No, I shouldn't say that.
Well,
it's people. You know what?
I'm sure his family and friends think
it's
he's famous.
people we like. That's who's going to be one of the people that we really like. Is going to be our guest tomorrow.
Yay.
And then on Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have the recurring Forrest Fenn Memoirs Book Club, The Thrill of the Chase, Chapter 5.
And we apologize for last week when it said Chapter 3 on the screen all day, although it was Chapter 4.
Oh, did I make it? Did I use the same slide?
Yeah.
Bummer. So yeah, Chapter 5 on Thursday of this week. And you already told him, pay attention to baby Shush. and give us a thumbs up for this video because YouTube really likes when you do that for
Share it
us.
on social media so your family and friends know how wonderful we are.
Because they want to know too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, are we done?
Yes.
I'm going to scroll down one more time just to make sure.
Actually, there's a question for Mr. G.
Okay. Oh, good. One more question. Hold on. I can't read it.
You can't read it? It says, do you think Fenn's special place is a place that other people frequent or at least stumble upon occasionally?
I think it's possible, but not probable. I think one of the characteristics of his special place is somehow being able to be assured in and of himself that it is his special place because it is unique to him. So it is possible. I don't think it's probable, even at a low thing. Oh, we promised to open the drone.
Oopsie.
Okay.
I think Eric Schmidt already left, though.
Oh, he did?
I think he had to go.
Oh, no. Okay, let's open the drone. See what we've got here.
Open.
Okay, so just to prove that I didn't have it open, see, there's the cellophane. So I'm taking this cellophane off.
Yep,
And
Eric
also,
had to leave.
this is sealed here, so let's see what we got.
Da 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 da.
Let's see what we got here.
Dum,
So there's the
dum,
second peel.
Ooh,
Ooh, look at that. Huh?
Ah.
Can you guys see that? Look at that.
fancy bag.
Okay, so it's not a bag.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a
it is sort
container.
of a bag.
Okay, so we got that. Then
Sort of a bag.
you know, one of the things about
It's a zipper on
the
it.
DJI is their packaging is amazing. So here's the box containing all the accessories. There's another box in there.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So there's another box with.
You get it?
I can't. I'll get this. The controller. Okay.
Oh.
So can you get that box out? What else is in there besides the silica gel?
That.
Okay. So this box contains some of the connection cables, accessories, Mavic Air accessories. I'm not going to open them up because I don't want to do that. And this box is labeled, and this contains
Batteries?
instructions. I'll bet you the batteries
Oh,
in
the
the drone.
props.
The extra props. There's 2 extra props and the prop guards. So again, I'm not going to open that. Let's get to the nitty gritty. So this is the
Controller?
controller. How
Oh.
cool is that? The way that it works is, I'll take this off. And these pop out like that.
Ah.
And you can put your phone in there.
Oh. And you?
I think this is going to be too small, isn't it?
Too little?
No, no, got it. So there's your controller. How cool is that? Now, these little, the thumb shifters, as I call them, they're actually hidden inside here. You can see them right there. They pop out and you screw them on there, so it makes it even more compact. So your phone just slides right in there. And that's your controller. Now, the only thing it's missing, these are your antennas. What?
They all want Bill Gorman to be the mystery guest.
Bill, can you actually communicate? We're going to have to invite him to. So these are the antenna, and that's your controller. How cool is that? It's about
Cute.
the same dimensions except for the thickness. It just more compact than the other controller. I told you I have to carry a backpack. Okay, here it is, the grand reveal. So this is a zippered case. It's made of a very nice material on the outside. And, oh my God, it's like a little jewel. How?
He's
I
going
don't
to wear
even,
around his neck next time.
where's my keychain thing? Look at that. I'm going to walk around the mall with this baby. Is that a drone on your neck?
It's
or-
just a camera. I don't know.
Wow.
Camera with wings.
So
Rotors.
front sensors, bottom sensors. Right here is where your SD card goes out. There's your start button. Let's see if I can do this without breaking it.
That'd be good.
So the rear props come out first.
They're all going, ooh,
Ooh,
ah. It's like fireworks.
okay, so. Oh, these gonna spin up. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Floop.
So, and then these are the drones antennas right here,
Aw.
and also landing gear. So that's the front, that's the rear. The camera's right here, and let's see how you take that off. I'd be guessing. Oh, here we go. Oops, sticky butt. It's got something sticky on
what?
it.
Sticky what?
Sticky.
Drink?
Yeah. Sticky wicket. Oh, there it is. Look at that little jewel of a camera. So the camera's on a 3-axis gimbal. They make a product smaller than this called the Spark, less expensive, but it has a 2-axis gimbal. So that's one of the. But isn't that just stunning? Wow, guys! I can't tell you, having flown Phantoms for as long as I have, and now just having